Hey guys, and welcome to Zoltan's Bass Lounge. Great to have you here. Great, now let's get on to the topic of the day, which is our left hand. Alright, now to me, there are two real big things that stick out about the left hand, which is your left hand posture and your positioning of your fingers. Okay, so let's start with the posture. Okay, now it's a really good idea to use your fingertips to come in contact with the strings when you play, because all the strength that comes from your arm through your wrist and into your hand and eventually into your fingers culminate in your fingertips, ends up actually at the tip of your fingers. So therefore, it's the best idea to utilize that power and strength and control to get in contact with the strings to help us get the best playability out of our left hand here. Okay, and the way to do that is simply by arching your hand and curling your fingers like that. So you kind of assume this kind of hook-like posture with your left hand like that, you see. So this kind of circular hook-like posture like that, okay? And that will allow your fingertips to come across, to come onto the strings, simply like that, okay? So that's the first thing. Now the second thing would be is to maintain a real good blood flow coming into your hand and your fingers. And that we can do by keeping our arm, our wrist, and our hand quite straight here. So we've got that real natural, nice bloodstream just kind of flowing up and down into our hand and fingers and everywhere around. Okay, now the minute you actually start to bend your wrist like this, you start to reduce that blood flow coming into your hand and into your fingers. So obviously, you'll start your hand will start to feel a bit numb, and there's not enough blood coming into your hand to be able to work, and also you'll get tired very quickly, and simply it's just not the best physical state for your hand, for your left hand to be in, to do all the work that's required of it. Okay, so let's keep this as to the minimum. This bending your wrist here to a real minimum amount. Now I'll show you where that actually happens. And most of us are really guilty of this, and myself included, is on the G string. We've got that real nice posture. Everything is straight, as you can tell. You know, my arm, the wrist, hand is all there, very nice and very natural. But the minute we start to cross to the lower strings here, that's when we start to actually break our wrist. And by the time we come to the E string, we really break that. We can really break our wrist here and bend our wrist here. So we can really reduce the amount of blood and the physical ability of our left hand there with that bend. Okay. So what we have to do, instead of bending our wrist to keep that real nice posture, is simply just to adjust with our arm and our shoulder, and just keep coming in with our arm and shoulder like this. So I come to the D string, I just slightly move my arm around so I can maintain that posture. I come to the A string, I'll move it around a little more. So again, I'm keeping that posture, and to the E string a little more so I can keep that posture as long and as much as possible. Now at the E string, it becomes a little harder because of the angle and all that. So you will probably bend your wrist a little bit, but just really try to keep it as straight as possible. And if you can, then just keep it exactly totally straight. That's something I'm working on right now for my own playing, actually, because I have been doing this in the past, and it's a real bad habit. And I just want you to get up to a good start and not develop a bad habit right away with your left hand playing here. Okay, so that's a very important thing to do and to consider. All right, next. How do we get to playing now? How do we put our fingers onto the fingerboard? I think a really simple and easy way to do it, and this is how I explain it to my students as well, is that you just simply rest your arm on the side of the bass like that, right there on the side. Yeah? And just simply lift your hand and your lower arm and assume the posture, assume that nice posture there, and just transfer that onto the string. There you go. Now here's something, a word of advice here again, is that as we first start to play the bass, when you lift something, we are really actually used to lift everything. So you'd lift your arm, your shoulder, everything comes with your hand. And I know that I've done that for years. So, and instead of that, what we need to do is try to just lift your lower arm and your hand and see how my elbow really kind of stayed down there like that. Look, my elbow just stays down there, and it's only my lower arm and my hand that comes up to the string like that. Okay, and my shoulder will stay down there, and that's so we'll start to utilize our arm weight, which I will talk to you about in a minute. But for now, I just want you to start to come up to the string like this. Okay, to the strings with your left hand like that. All right. And so let's play a couple of notes. Let's find that first note on that G string, which will be about an inch underneath your nut here with our first finger. Okay, let's play the second finger. Let's play the fourth finger. Great. That's really good. I mean, I can tell that I've got a lot of control and I've got power, and I could possibly play for hours and hours with this kind of posture. Now, my intonation wasn't very good, as I noticed, and this is where our finger positioning comes into play. And in the traditional German technique that I use, and a lot of people use, and a lot of wonderful bass players use, what we do is we keep our second and third fingers together in the middle, and the first finger comes up north a little bit, about maybe as much as you can put your fingers through, and just a little bit more. And the same happens for your fourth finger. It just goes south, and there's a little bit of distance between the third and the fourth finger in there. So your posture will look something like this. Yeah? First finger north, fourth finger down to the south a little bit like that. And the two middle fingers in the middle next to each other. Okay. And with the technique I just mentioned, the German technique, we use our first, our second, and our fourth finger to play up to the point of the thumb position. Okay. So this is a really great way to position your fingers here. And as we'll try now, we'll put the first finger on the A flat. Now let's try to put the second finger down and see what happens. Yeah, that's in tune now a lot more. It's considerably better tuning that we had just before. And let's put the fourth finger down. Yeah, that sounds very good to me as well. Much more in tune than just a minute ago. Okay, so that's very important, to start to position your fingers right, so your tuning will become good, and you won't be playing out of tune and all that. Okay, now obviously as positions will start to shrink, and notes will start to shrink as you come up to the higher positions, and I'll explain to you about positions in a minute in a different video. This positioning of your fingers will start to actually shrink with it, to accommodate for the notes coming shrinking slightly as you come up. But for now, let's keep that real nice positioning here for the lower positions here, for the half position, first position, and so on, because it will really be a great guide for you for your intonation. Okay. Like that. Okay. And when you start to play, always try to, and I will tell you this a lot, always try to check your intonation by playing to another string, you know, by always comparing or to another string, or later on to the same string, when your ear training will come into place and you'll start to recognize intervals better. Like that. So I always try to see my intonation against another string, you see. Okay, now that's great. So we've got a lot of things that covered already. Now let's see what happens in the background. Okay, so let's take a look at your thumb. Now what I do, first of all, I would start without the bass, and I would just assume a natural posture of my hand and just keep the thumb exactly there where it naturally was without the bass. And all you have to do is just bring it back to the fingerboard. Your fingers will go up on top of the strings, obviously, and your thumb will just come in and slide in at the back of the fingerboard like that. And just try to keep it as natural and as relaxed as it was out here. That's the key to it all, really. So there you go. And as you go down to your higher positions, your thumb will come with your hand, but also sometimes it can lag behind a little bit, which is not a problem as long as it stays relaxed and not contorted, not bent into any kind of shape or any direction here. Now, be aware of this, because when we first start to play, I think most of us actually fall into this trap. I definitely did. That somehow natural doesn't come naturally to us, and we start to contort our thumb and start to put it in some different kind of shapes, and that will really cramp your hand. So pay attention to this and make sure that your thumb is real nice and natural and relaxed, and it's not contorted, it's not bent, and it's just there to support your the rest of your hand, and also to support the bass a little bit. I mean, you can use your thumb to have the fingerboard resting on the neck of the bass, resting on your finger on the thumb a little bit as well. To help your standing with the bass overall. But that's not really the issue here. The issue is that your thumb maintains a nice, simple, and relaxed posture. So really be aware of that. Injuries can really come from a thumb that is kind of contorted in different ways and shapes and forms. Okay. Now there is one more thing I'd like to talk to you about regarding your left hand, and that is your arm weight, pressing your fingers onto the strings. And as we learned before, when we were sitting and standing with the bass, it's a great idea to have your fingerboard at an angle to the ground, so you can use that angle to your advantage, and your arm can really start to actually hang off the fingerboard like that. So basically, I'll just hook my fingers onto the strings there and let my arm go, and my arm weight will simply press my fingers onto the fingerboard there. So because I've got this angle to the ground with the fingerboard, right? You can see it right there. My hand and my arm can freely hang off the fingerboard, and that's what I said. That do not bring your arm on. Do not bring your wrist. Your wrist, arm, and your shoulders up as you bring up your fingers and your hand. Just bring your hand up like that, because now you can use the great facility, your weight, your arm weight, in producing these notes. So my fingers are already pressed into the strings there, so I have really nothing much to do there, just to play them like that, which will actually conserve a lot of power and a lot of energy in playing. So basically you'll be able to play more consistently and more precisely and with less effort. So you'll be able to play maybe double or even triple the amount than had you just kind of played like this and really had to squeeze every note, and you had your arm and your shoulder really kind of uptight and up here while you're playing. So that's yet another thing to consider about your left hand. And so the left hand is not only just the left hand itself, your whole arm is considered in your left hand technique, as you can tell by now. Great. All the above should get you to a real good grounding and off to a real good start with your left hand.